When I was just 18, I got married. I didn't choose my husband myself, but my new family, who lived in the countryside, really loved me. My father-in-law had a factory and a business close by, making us the richest family. My husband and his father were usually away, working in the town. In the 80s, our village didn't have much to do, so we ladies would often spend our evening walks by the lake, chatting about this and that. One evening, while we were by the lake, we talked about an old falling-apart mill nearby. It was a sad, scary-looking place with black marks everywhere. "It's haunted," one of my friends said. "I've heard there's a spirit in there, always searching for a new person to live in," added another. But just as the conversation got scary, our eldest friend told us to stop and that we should head home as it was getting dark. As we were leaving, I heard my name. It sounded like my husband, and it came from the direction of the river. But one of the women told me not to look back, convinced it was a ghost trying to trick me. I wasn't sure, thinking it could be my husband who came back early, but everyone insisted there was no one there when we left, and that my husband should be on the opposite side of the village. The voice got angrier and seemed to be right behind me. I was terrified and started praying. It was really cold, and I could hear something coming closer and whispering my name. Holding hands, we rushed towards the village as fast as we could, not daring to look back. Once we reached the village, everything felt normal again. We went straight to our local priest, who said prayers for us and scolded us for staying out so late. He warned us that the mill is haunted by the spirit of its old owner. When I finally got back home, my husband and father-in-law were nowhere to be found. That voice I heard by the river was definitely not my husband. Once upon a time, when I was a lively woman of 31, this peculiar incident took place. It was a summer day, and as a ritual, I used to spend it at the Jeans Park in Lane County, Oregon, with my beloved pit bull, Kiddo. This hidden gem, with its uncrowded beaches and inviting trails through the woods, was our favorite place to swim and soak up the warmth. On this particular afternoon, as we reveled in our private piece of beach heaven far from the parking spaces, things began to take an unexpected turn. A boat was gradually inching closer to our secluded spot, a man steering it towards my beach. My instincts were on high alert, and I hastily packed our belongings. The floating device, Kiddo's leash, my purse, and everything else scattered around. As we ascended the grassy bank leading away from the sandy beach, the man disembarked from his boat. Bizarrely, he was naked. His presence was unsettling, but his words were even more disturbing. As he strolled around the beach, he called out, assuring me I had no reason to fear him, no need to escape. But his actions suggested otherwise, and we continued our retreat towards the woods. Suddenly, I remembered my sunglasses. With my sensitive eyes and dryness problem, being in the sun without them was a challenge I didn't want. We had no choice but to return. Keeping my eyes shielded from the stranger's nudity with my wide hat brim, I asked him to hand me the sunglasses. Thankfully, he cooperated and didn't make a move to harm me. It was with a sigh of relief that Kiddo and I made our way back through the woods to our car. Later, it struck me how reckless I'd been to return for the sunglasses. I should have stayed put in my car and waited for him to leave. When I shared my encounter with my mom, she promptly reported the incident to a ranger station there. They seemed to be aware of similar occurrences at the lake. The ranger did attempt to contact me, but we couldn't connect, and I never heard back again. Looking back, I sometimes wonder whether I should have pepper sprayed the man, but the thought of pepper spray affecting Kiddo held me back. To this day, it bemuses me how I've become the target of creepy men repeatedly, despite Kiddo's protective presence. I was on vacation on the Pie Island Lighthouse, starting in 1988. One sad day, specifically the 16th of October 1988, I drank way too much whiskey and a type of alcohol that comes from wood, which led me to be poisoned by the alcohol and fainted. But there might be an even more chilling story behind this incident. Would you believe a newspaper of that era printed a story suggesting that poor old man didn't faint from alcohol but was trapped? The actual story is that two men committed this horrible act on the Serene Island. Shockingly, these two men were later discovered lifeless in a cabin located by a bay not too far away. The real circumstances that led to our lightkeeper's sad and untimely end. It was shrouded in uncertainty. Like a story from an old book, the truth is a bit elusive, making it all the more fascinating. The mystery of this horrible incident at the lakeside still remains unsolved, and I still do not understand what exactly happened that day. Some days I think that this happened due to those two men mentioned earlier, while other times I wonder if there may be some kind of supernatural forces at work on Pie Island. Legend has it that John's spirit still haunts the lighthouse on Pie Island, seeking justice for his untimely death. Many visitors and paranormal investigators have reported strange occurrences and feelings of being watched on the island. In July 2019, when I was 16 years old, my family and I decided to visit a lake we hadn't visited in a while. Our family, including my two sisters, was really looking forward to it. The lake isn't easy to get to, and driving there feels like an adventure. You first drive through a narrow lane surrounded by forests, and then reach two paths. One leads to a picnic spot, and the other takes you to the lake. Whenever we reach that point, we always take the lake route. One sunny afternoon, I got a headache after spending a few hours at the lake. My mom handed me the car keys and suggested I go sit in the car and turn on the air conditioner. As I reached our parked car, I noticed an old man peering through the car's windows. He was skinny with long gray hair and dressed rather shabbily. Startled, I asked him what he was doing, and he just looked at me and walked away. Feeling slightly unnerved, I climbed into the car, locked the doors, and tried to call my mom to tell her about the man. Unfortunately, there was no cell service, so I couldn't reach her. Suddenly, I noticed the same man at the passenger side window trying to open the door. Frightened, I screamed and honked the car horn, hoping it would attract someone's attention, but no one could hear me because the parking area was far from the lake. Then the man stopped, said something I couldn't hear, and walked away. I bolted out of the car and rushed back to my family. When I told them about the incident, my mom got angry. My uncles and dad raced back to the car while my aunts and grandmother comforted me. Even though we searched the area, we couldn't find the old man. We also informed a park ranger about the incident as we were leaving. The park ranger told us something even more terrifying. No one had left the area before us, which meant that the strange man must have come from the woods surrounding the lake. The memory of this incident still gives me goosebumps, even now, but I'm so grateful that I was okay and that nothing worse happened on that day. Let me tell you about a mysterious place I know of. I've never personally explored it for any spooky activities, but I did some research a few years ago about electronic voice phenomenon to see if it's a real thing. I also had a few real photos of strange orbs and apparitions. This place, a scenic lake, has quite an eerie aura, which might explain its spooky reputation. We were a group of 4 friends, and out of all of us, I was the only one who'd been to that lake before. My first visit happened after my friends and I were done with our final exams in high school. We'd wanted to celebrate together by visiting a nearby scenic location. I suggested going to this particular lake because it's not very well known and we could have some privacy away from other visitors. The first time I visited the lake with my family, we didn't explore much as there wasn't enough time. However, on this trip, we were determined to make the most out of our day. We had fun swimming and exploring the area, but as dusk fell upon us, things started getting spooky. We started feeling like we were being watched and could hear strange noises coming from the woods surrounding the lake. The 4 of us huddled together and decided to leave before it got too dark. But as we were leaving, I took a few photos with my phone's camera, not expecting to capture anything out of the ordinary. However, when I went through the photos later that night, I was shocked to see strange orbs and unexplainable apparitions in some of them. I saw a pale face, almost transparent, staring back at me from behind a tree in one photo. In another, there was a bright orb hovering near us as we swam. You won't believe how fast I deleted those photos, too scared to keep them on my phone. After that experience, I did some research and found out about electronic voice phenomenon, the supposed method of communicating with spirits through electronic devices. Some people believe that it's a real phenomenon, while others dismiss it as just background noises or interference. Apparently, there have also been many unexplained disappearances and ghost sightings reported in the area. Some people even claim to have heard voices and strange sounds coming from the lake itself. Needless to say, we haven't been back to that lake since then. I'm not sure what exactly goes on at that lake, but one thing is for sure. It has a very eerie and unsettling atmosphere. Maybe one day I'll gather up the courage to go back and explore more of its mysteries. But until then, I'll stick to my memories and the photos as proof of its mysterious nature. One of Texas's most popular tales of a haunting is known as the Lady of the Lake. This captivating yarn takes place at a location called White Rock Lake Park, which is just a stone's throw away from the bustling city of Dallas. My wife and I were a quite young, starry-eyed couple embarking on a romantic journey under the silvery glow of the moon, driving leisurely around this serene lake. But suddenly, our tranquil ride took an unexpected turn. We came across a striking vision, a young and breathtakingly beautiful girl garbed in a flowing white gown. But this wasn't an ordinary sight. The girl was soaking wet from head to toe, as if she had just emerged out of the lake, her dress clinging to her. She then expressed an apology for her abrupt intervention on our journey, and informed us that she would not have done so under normal circumstances, but she was in dire need of a return home. She explained how she ended up in such a state, revealing that she was involved in a boating accident. However, she assured us that the rest of the people were safe, and it was only she who needed to get back home urgently. As we drove her back, she thanked us for our help and begged that we would not mention this encounter to anyone. The young lady was wearing long white silk gloves, a tiara with small pearls, and a floor-length gown. Her hair was styled into an intricate updo adorned with white flowers. This beautiful apparition still haunts me as one of the most mysterious encounters I've had in my life. As per the local legend, the ghost is said to be a newlywed woman who died tragically at the lake on her wedding day. People claim to have seen her spirit gliding around White Rock Lake looking for her lost groom. This ghost story seems to have a timeless appeal, with people still discussing and sharing their experiences of encountering the Lady of the Lake. Whether it's true or not, this tale continues to fascinate and haunt those who visit White Rock Lake Park. Somewhere in Lost Lake, either hiding under the calm lake surface or near the far bank, a wicked creature lurks, the Witch of Lost Lake. Many a wanderer has heard the metallic hammering as her gloomy minions shake the chains that imprison them. Yet, the Witch of Lost Lake isn't the only phantasm you'll encounter when you sit around a teepee campfire. I've been told horrifying tales so scary that I don't dare write them down for fear of becoming the next prey for the ghosts who haunt anyone bold enough to pen their names. One day, I decided to take a stroll in the woods, and by sheer luck, I stumbled upon Lost Lake. The place looked serene, yet mysterious at the same time. As I walked along its banks, I heard strange whispers and eerie noises coming from the still waters. Ignoring my fear, I continued to explore, intrigued by the legends surrounding this lake. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a thick fog appeared, engulfing me completely. In that moment of panic and confusion, I saw her, the Witch of Lost Lake. Her green skin was covered with moss and algae, and her hair hung long like weeds. Her eyes glowed red with malice, and her lips twisted into a sinister grin as she whispered curses upon me. I ran as fast as I could back to my campsite, never looking back. Since then, I've heard many stories of people who have encountered the Witch of Lost Lake and never returned. Some say that she is the guardian of the lake, punishing those who dare disturb its tranquility, while others believe her to be a vengeful spirit seeking revenge for her own untimely death at Lost Lake. But one thing is for sure, the Witch of Lost Lake remains a terrifying and mysterious figure in local folklore. And I can't help but wonder, will she ever be satisfied and finally let go of her haunting duties? These were just 7 of the numerous ghost stories that are popular in the United States. Some may be based on actual events, while others are simply folklore passed down through generations. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more spooky content.